Welcome to the show, everybody. This is the Farsi Show presented by MyBookie, mybookie.ag, and it's wonderful to have you along for the ride. Earlier show than normal today, faster show than normal today. Wanted to make sure I gave you guys my reaction to the MLB trade deadline above all else. Here it is. Very disappointing. The Phillies, it's the classic phrase of earrings on a pig comes to mind. Here's what I gather from the MLB trade deadline for the Phillies as far as I'm concerned. Here's what I got for you. The Philadelphia Phillies they become a better baseball team. Not seeing as much of Max Kepler is a good thing. Harrison Bader is a better ball player than Max Kepler. If Phillies are able to bring up Justin Crawford and he's anything he's supposed to be for his major league career, and he plays more center field or plays more left field and Marsh is in center or whatever, that will be a better baseball team. Phillies became better at the trade deadline. John Duran is one of the, if not the best closer in baseball. They did a fantastic job solidifying the back end of their bullpen. I have no idea what David Roberts is going to give you, and I am not that optimistic about it. Well, I do not think he's going to be some wild upgrade over what you got now. Here's what I do know. You're probably not going to see Seth Johnson. That'd be. I'm happy for that. That's good. You're probably not going to see Daniel Robert. Also happy for that. But the bottom line is, like I asked you yesterday, before the 6 p.m. trade deadline, how much did the needle get moved for you in terms of your belief that the Philadelphia Phillies are now a World Series contender? I still do not believe that they are a World Series contender. The guy that I want, I know a lot of people were on the Eugenio Suarez bandwagon. I was never fully on that bandwagon, but if he was here, I'd be happy for it because it is an everyday change to this lineup. Harrison Bader obviously is not an everyday change to this lineup. Stephen Kwan, who did not get moved, would have been a nice change to this everyday lineup and solidify what you have going on in left field, lefties and righties. For being a left-handed bat, he hits left-handed pitching rather well. I'd be happy to see that. Right-handed pitching very well. So I'd be happy to see that move. Oh, and not to mention a Gold Glove caliber left fielder, an all-star. And now the Phillies bring in a guy that it looks like he'll be another platoon-type guy. Now, last year's addition, Austin Hayes, was the attempt at the trade deadline to fix the left field spot that did not get fixed by Whit Merrifield. So, what are the Phillies to do? Well, they go and they get Harrison Bader, and Bader splits on the season 266 against right-handed pitching, against left-handed pitching 241. On base percentage against right-handed pitching 347. On base percentage against left-handed pitching 318. That's what Harrison Bader's bringing to the table. The versus right-handed pitching, he's about 60 points higher than Austin Hayes was last year. So if you want to be optimistic about anything, okay. All right, you're in a better spot than you were last year at the trade deadline as far as acquiring somebody who could come in there and be, at the worst, a platoon player. But according to Dave Dombrowski yesterday, Harrison Bader is going to play a lot. He said the lineup card is going to be Rob Thompson's. By the way, I don't believe that for a second. You could say all you want. Oh, it's his lineup card, but you're the boss, man. You're the guy deciding whether or not he's going to be fired or not at the end of the season. So you're going to be telling him, hey, by the way, I just traded for this guy. He better be in the lineup. So, yeah, I understand that maybe the structure and order of the lineup is one thing, but who's playing might be somebody else's decision. Dave Dombrowski. This doesn't really do much for me other than I know through August, through September, I'm going to see a better baseball team than what I saw for the previous 4 months of the season. Yay! But as I told you in Washington, when the season got started and the Phillies had that shadow game to start things off, remember? And everyone was blaming the shadows and all this stuff. I told you then my expectations for the season, and my expectations for the season haven't changed. This deadline has not changed at all what I expect from this Phillies team when it comes to the postseason. Because the biggest problem for me was not the closer. The biggest problem for me was not the bullpen. And don't get me wrong, this is not a vote of confidence for what they had. They are better now. But my biggest fear, my biggest problem was that this lineup just goes ice cold. The Mets figured them out. The Diamondbacks figured them out. The Astros figured them out. Who's the guy you're going to be able to depend on to be that high on-base percentage guy at the top of the order, get on base? Who's the guy that you're going to be depending on to drive in the runs when the bats go cold? Who's the guy that's always going to have that really good approach around, the 5-6 spot in the lineup? And JT Realmuto has been hitting the ball really well lately. He's been much better than he was in the first 2.5 months of the season. Nick Castellanos is, for all his faults, he is always the same guy, always going to be that free swinger and aggressive. Alec Bohm, when he comes back, he's always going to be that free swinger and aggressive. So there's a lot of the same cast of characters that we've been talking about now since the World Series loss to the Houston Astros. So what have you done for this lineup to really make it that much better? You got a platoon player that, according to you, is going to play a lot. I don't know. It feels like you barely see Max Kepler anymore anyway, who Dave Dombrowski even said yesterday, well, right now he's playing left field for us, and he's actually swinging the bat well, a little bit better over the last couple of days. Really impressed by a sac fly RBI. Let's do cartwheels over that. His days in left field are very much numbered as far as the amount of playing time he's going to see between, especially if there's a call up for Carl Crawford. Justin Crawford. I knew I was going to do that. How much, again, did this move the needle for you when it came to the Phillies and what they're bringing to the table for the rest of this season? Because it did not do much for me. Yippee, 2 more months of better baseball. I got to say that. I got to acknowledge that. But that's not the point. The point is getting this team over the hump. And as I told you in that first game, after the first game of the season, going into that first game of the season, the expectations for this Phillies team, for me, are World Series or bust. That's what it has to be. But ultimately, they're in the same boat as the Sixers, where there's been a lot of money spent, there's been a lot of promises, and over-promises and under-delivering. So through the first month of the season, even, the Phillies had their struggles. I mean, they got off to a great start, and they hit a little bit of a wall. But for the first month of the season, people, some people, few and far between, they're like, it's just the first month of the season. It's early. And I was like, the hell with that. This is Act 4 of the same play. We know what's going on. Vast majority of the same cast of characters. The only way this team is going to win is if they hit. The only way. And you could say this about, the starting pitch has been great. Yeah, starting pitch has been great for the vast majority of this season, and this team still hasn't been great at the plate. This is not something you look at right now with this Phillies team and go, they got this now. They got a closer now? Okay, I look forward to him coming in to pitch in the Phillies are down 3-1 in the playoffs, and they're going to use him because they used everybody else in the bullpen already? Starting pitching for this Phillies team is what gives me the most confidence that they're at the very least going to be a playoff team. And even that started to falter a little bit as of late. But overall, when it comes to this lineup, that's the scariest thing. And you could go through the 3 straight games with 8 or more runs. You could talk about Kyle Schwarber having a double-digit homer month and carrying the team at times. Bryce Harper, hopefully his best baseball for this season is still very much in front of him and not behind him. Alec Bohm, cross your fingers, whatever. He's going to be able to come back into this lineup and play a steady third base for you. But all in all, you look at this team, do you see a World Series contender? I mean, the Mets made a lot of moves for their bullpen. They got Cedric Mullins yesterday. Cedric Mullins is not a big deal to me. Good defensive center fielder, really good defensive center fielder. He's a 229 batting average guy with 15 home runs on the season. That doesn't go, wow, they really do. Incredible move by them. Gregory Soto, even ESPN, their most optimistic was like C+ type of average. Tyler Rogers being out of their bullpen is a great move by them. Congratulations to that. That's a hell of a move by them. But I don't feel like they took major steps forward. So in terms of getting the best possible playoff seed that you could get, the Phillies helped their odds in doing that. All in all, has that helped them in the playoffs? Sure, it helps them in the playoffs. But I've seen this team lose 2 games in a row decisively at home against the Diamondbacks. I've seen this team get no hit at home against the Astros. So even if you do get that better playoff seeding, yeah, we're haunted by ghosts of Philly's past, unfortunately. So all in all, look, I've been the guy to tell you multiple times that Dave Dombrowski is going to the Hall of Fame, but the brag for his career will not be the Phillies. I was really thinking about when they hired Dave Dombrowski, I thought about Pat Gillick, who won back-to-back championships, unfortunately, as we know, with the Blue Jays. Set a record for wins in a season with the Mariners, putting that team together. And then came here to Philadelphia, and as Pat Gillick even described in his Hall of Fame speech, going to Philadelphia, what a wonderful capstone on my career. And that's exactly what it was, winning the World Series in 2008. I was hoping this would be a wonderful capstone on Dave Dombrowski's career. It is not. They went to a World Series. He's taken many teams to the World Series. He's won World Series. This is not a good look. Ultimately, Dave Dombrowski's time, I believe, with the Phillies are going to be exactly what left field has been for Dave Dombrowski while he's been with the Phillies, which is a big blemish. After going to the World Series, taking a step back every year, not doing enough at the trade deadline. And I'd be a lot more pissed if Kwan did get dealt and the Phillies didn't get him. But that's not the way that worked out. Suarez obviously did get dealt to the Mariners, who are now, they won last night, so they're 1-0 in the Eugenio Suarez era, if you will. But all in all, it's just a very disappointing trade deadline for the Philadelphia Phillies. And I'd love to sit here and say they did enough, they got over the hump, but they're very much the same baseball team. Not enough change. A platoon bat is not going to be enough to make me feel like this team's really got it. And as great as Kyle Schwarber is, as great as Bryce Harper can be, as steady as Nick Castellanos can be, and if anything, for all the blemishes for him, of all the mistakes he can make, for all the over-aggressiveness and swinging at the first pitch that everybody faults him for, he's still one of your most consistent hitters in this lineup. Is JT Realmuto going to be the guy he's been for the last month? Is he going to continue to go on that tear? Is Brandon Marsh going to pick it up from a weak July that he ended well, I will say, but hit 200 for the vast majority of the month up until the final week of the month, where he started to come back around? And look, I know that the second home run was nothing in a blowout of a game against the White Sox, but 2 home runs back-to-back games. All right, let me see some more power from you, Brandon Marsh. Bryson Stott, huge disappointment for this season. Awful disappointment for this season. Did you get better there? It's rough. The outlook on this Phillies team, it feels like you know the end already because so many times you've seen the end. And it stopped short. And similar to the Phillies winning the World Series in 2008, after that, it was literally a step backwards each and every year. Winning the World Series, losing the World Series, losing the NLCS, losing the NLDS. Not ideal. Certainly not ideal. I'm going to get some comments from you guys right here, see how you guys are feeling. Sean Kilray, hey, good morning. Yeah, we're live, man. We're live. Harrison Bader joins the Phillies as best slugging percentage, OPS, on base, and WAR than all of Phillies outfielders. And he is the best defensive outfielder. Best defensive outfielder? I don't think he's the best. I think Brandon Marsh is a better defensive outfielder than him. I'm not. Yeah, I don't agree with that. Crawford minor league ready? Oh, thank you. Yeah. So the comments that Dave Dombrowski made yesterday on Justin Crawford was that he is ready to help at the major league level. He could use a little bit more development, but still ready right now if called upon to help the big league club. So my question is, when do you make that call? And the other is, but he's got to play. Okay. So is he coming up to play center field? Because, wow. It's one thing to ask a kid to come up and be like, hey, help the big league ball club out. You're one of our number one prospects, one of our top prospects. Come on up here and, help the ball club. It's another thing to be like, hey, you're going to be our shortstop. You're going to be our catcher. You're going to be our center fielder. That's wild. That's an even bigger ask. It's one thing to like hide in one of the corner outfield spots, if you will. It's another thing to be like a second baseman. But coming up to be the general of the outfield, that's a big ask for a young man. So if he's got to play, then if he's coming up, you're expecting him to be an everyday player. And yesterday, Dave Dombrowski was certainly talking about him like he was going to come up. So does Max Kepler get DFA'd after only signing a 1-year deal? Because if you want to talk about really making a move, then you're really talking about, okay, well, you've got it figured out. You're going to have an everyday center fielder. You're going to have a platoon situation in left field, which I could still live with. But that is one major change you're making to the lineup where one guy that has been in there quite consistently throughout the year is not going to be there anymore. And Carl Crawford, geez, I haven't called him Carl Crawford all year, and today I do because I was reading a thing with him and his dad. Anyway, I went in a rabbit hole yesterday on Justin Crawford and started reading a story on him and his dad. But anyway, they come in and they make a major change to the lineup in having a new everyday player. So then that means that you're basing a lot of the success of this season, not just on a bullpen acquisition, which is a positive, a great bullpen acquisition, which is a positive, getting a steady platoon in left field, and then banking another position, whether that be left field or center field, whatever. You're banking that on Carl Crawford. Jeez Louise, Justin Crawford coming up here at the Major League level and producing. We got handed the script to a play we know. We got handed the script to a movie we know the ending of, and it still feels like that. Ken Saad, what's going on? Good morning. Wait. I don't either. I agree with you on that. All right, good. We're all on the same page there, Sean. We're on the same page. Nola wrapped up his rehab, 6 innings, 2 hits, 0 runs, 7 Ks against the Red Wings, the Rochester Red Wings. Yeah. Hopefully Nola can help you out down the line. I'll cross my fingers for that. But Nola's got to be a proof in the pudding guy. That's what he's got to be. And it's not like starting pitching has been horrific. Jesus Luzardo has certainly been scary, horrifically scary. Taijuan Walker has not been a disaster. This is funny. What do you know? The bats have been the bigger concern throughout this entire stretch. And what you have done for them is Harrison Bader. Yay. By the way, one more thing I wanted to give you on Harrison Bader. So I gave you his splits. I gave you his splits. Overall in the season is a 258 hitter with a 339 on base percentage. Okay. Both those things much better than Max Kepler. 12 home runs. I believe that's one more than Kepler has on the season so far. Okay, that's good. ESPN, for what it's worth, graded this as a B- and described it as logical but low impact. In other words, as I said to start the show, earrings on a pig. Now, the other thing here is last year in the playoffs, he hit 111 in 12 games in the postseason. That's 0.0. It's 0.111. 3 years ago in the playoffs, he hit 333 and 5 home runs for the Yankees in 9 games. Yay! Let's hope for that guy. That guy'd be good to have. Other guy, not good to have. This guy, good to have. Other guy from last year, bad. 3 years ago, good. So I guess Phillies are banking on that as well. Right. Wow. Actually, an early start. We're going to be disappointed when I take off in a couple of minutes here. But yeah, it was. It's not a very impressive trade deadline, unfortunately, for your Philadelphia Phillies. It ain't great. Here's where I do have a little bit of optimism. You do have control of Duran for 2 more years. This year, 2026. 2027 club control are arbitration eligible for still a fairly young righty, 27 years old. So I'd be happy, of course, if the Phillies are able to keep him around. That'd be a great thing. I very much want to see what you get from David Robertson, although I'm not ecstatic. My baseline is, can you be better than Daniel Robert? Can you be better? Who, by the way, was struggling the other night because I want to point out again, a broken nail. And then I also want, true story. And then I also would like to not see Seth Johnson anymore. So if David Robertson could be better than that, then I'd be very happy for Robertson to rejoin this lineup, as he should later this month. By the way, Bader and Duran will be with the Phillies tonight when they open their series against the Detroit Tigers. 6:40 start time, so that's at least good. But all in all, I look at this team and I see a very similar team and a very similar ending than what I have seen before. That's what we're looking at right now, unfortunately. Thanks, everybody in the chat. Rye, appreciate you. Thank you. Rye, Sean Kilrain, appreciate you guys. You guys are awesome. I know earlier start time today and unfortunately an earlier exit than normal. Eagles, yesterday at training camp, I was listening to Dallas Goedert, and I know the heat has been a big thing. Oh, by the way, last night was also a Hall of Fame game, for what it's worth. Trey Lance lighting it up there. But so Dallas Goedert addressed the media yesterday. He was talking about the heat. Today's supposed to be 71. Tomorrow's supposed to be, or 75. Tomorrow's supposed to be 81. But Dallas Goedert was talking about the weather yesterday. Like, yeah, you want to push through these moments so you always feel like you can go whenever it is those really hot 95, 98 degree days, that type of thing. He goes, tomorrow's supposed to be cool, meaning today means you feel like you could go all day. He also talked about how even though, he's been around for 8 years now, he still feels like he's one of the young guys. And then he looks around and realizes that there's like a whole new rookie class that just came in. Obviously, there's a lot of younger guys on this football team than him, but he's still, hey, look, I'd rather a player talk about how young they feel than a player tell me that they're in the best shape of their life. Because it's like one of those things when you're having a conversation with somebody and they say, trust me, I know what I'm talking about. The minute they say that, we're like, well, it doesn't sound like it. You're not doing a good job of convincing me of that, and telling me that just makes me think you don't. So I'd rather an athlete tell me, I still feel like one of the young guys. That makes me feel a lot better than I'm in the best shape of my life. It's a little bit more convincing. But also talked about taking on more of a leadership role yesterday. Quinyon Mitchell addressed the media. I don't feel like we ever really get inside of what Quinyon Mitchell is really thinking whenever he's addressing the media. But yesterday, just being showered with praise from Jalen Hurts, and Jalen Hurts saying that he was his biggest fan and all that. This stuff doesn't faze him. He you know who he reminds me of? He reminds me of a quieter, more direct Jalen Hurts. That's who Quinyon Mitchell reminds me of when you talk about a personality. Like, whenever you ask him about, like, hey, you made the really good play the other day on the ball, blah, blah, he's just like, yeah, the play was there and I made it. And it's not like a standoffish, rude type of thing. It's just like, this is what I do. And I absolutely love that. All right. I got to run, unfortunately, but I'll be back with you guys for Locked On 76ers at 10 o'clock today. I'll be back with you guys for Locked On Phillies postcast after the Phillies Tigers start their series tonight, so I look forward to that. I got an early hit on Fox, so I hope you guys catch me on Fox at 6:45. Thanks for watching. Thanks for listening. Back with you guys throughout the day today and tonight. See you guys later.